I've been looking for a house with no walls or no whispers, no hiding places, no secret sister. Been looking for a house that won't shelter a lie, no tear-stained past or reason to cry. I wanna live in a house of love.
This is Empowering Women Everywhere. I am your host, Nan Gill, and today our guest is Dr. Danielle Lowe. She's a doctor of education, and she formed a not-for-profit corporation called Baby S.T.E.P, Inc.
Yes.
And she's here to tell us all about her project and what she's been up to. So, Danielle?
Okay. Basically, since I was here last, I completed my doctoral degree, my dissertation, so I appreciate all your help. I was able to gather information from 150 infants worldwide.
Okay.
And it was a 28-day study, so the babies were read to daily for 28 days, and the mom would record it on the first day, middle day, and last day, and then send me the video so I could analyze it. And because I was looking at things like eye movement and mannerisms, it
Correct.
could be in any language, so that was really enlightening. So it was, luckily, I'm happy to report we were able to prove that regardless of economic or demographic background, babies that are read to daily have a significant increase in attention span and engagement behaviors.
Okay, so basically, when you started this program, what kind of spurred you to get involved with Baby S.T.E.P, Inc?
Well, I'm a kindergarten teacher. I've taught in the primary grades for almost 20 years, and it's very clear to see on the first day of school which children were read to as babies. It's crystal clear as a veteran teacher. You can really tell which children are familiar with
Right.
books. So it's a passion that I've had for a long time, and I tried to share my enthusiasm, and I kept coming against brick walls. And I also worked in classrooms in England, Ireland, Belize, and other countries. And what I noticed were countries that have 100% literacy have a really strong push with early childhood literacy starting at birth.
Okay.
So that's what helped to fuel Baby S.T.E.P, Inc. We became non-profit in 2011.
Okay. And what kind of brick walls were you running into?
With different ideas as far as getting out into the community or sharing my idea with different districts, or just actually getting up and even just naming the non-for-profit corporation. We used to be Baby Steps to Literacy, and we had to change our name and then just trademark and all those kind of things. So everything is rolling out, and I have a great team. We're all veteran teachers, administrators, and teaching assistants. There's a team of 5 of us that work together. So we're all very passionate about just making a better world for children. And we believe by providing early childhood reading opportunities, we're going to help to get them ahead of the game so they're not struggling in school when it's time for them to go.
Right, and from what I remember you telling me, it doesn't matter what demographic background they come from, or what economic background they come from. If they're read to as a baby, as a child, they actually have a higher IQ?
Actually, with the babies, from the research, what the research shows is actually babies that are high poverty babies, they have a higher growth of attention and engagement scores, but theirs continue to increase.
Okay.
Where babies, middle class babies, they do also have the same increase, but they kind of plateau.
Okay.
So the benefits are really long lasting if we can really reach those children earlier, at risk babies. So for example, in the state of New York, kindergarten is not mandated at this point in time. And the brain is most permeable before 5 years of age. So we have children that are coming in at 6 years old, and the current expectation at the end of kindergarten is for children to read paragraphs independently. So for those children that are not coming into school, they're already far behind where they need to be. And usually once it's like a slippery slope. Once they're behind in the beginning, it just gets harder to keep up.
Right. Now you ran a test or a study?
Yes, yeah. It was a 28-day study.
Okay.
I was able to recruit infants worldwide. Most of the United States participated. I had Singapore, Malaysia, England, Ireland, Australia. And basically the moms would, or the dads, would read to the babies and record them. For attention span, I would watch the baby's eye movement, and
Right.
if the baby looked at the book or looked at the reader, it counted as attention score.
Right.
And I calculated that time over the total time of the reading, and that gave me a percentage. For engagement behaviors, I looked for things like the baby reaching for the book, the baby smiling, laughing, singing along, and also looked at negative things like the baby trying to get down or not interacting
Right.
with the book.
Okay.
So-
And the results were?
The results were wonderful, and
Okay.
actually, I have here one of the charts that I will share with you. But the attention scores, if you look at the black score is the intervention group. So that means that babies that were read to on a daily basis had a steadily increase of attention scores. If you looked in at the green line, the control group, their attention scores actually declined. I originally predicted it would stay constant, but it actually decreased. Their attention span went down.
Now the green line is what?
That's the control group. And the control group babies were only read to on the first day, middle day, and last day. And there was a
wow.
specific calendar. So babies in the intervention group, all babies read Brown Bear. That was my assessment book on the Wednesday. So whenever they started, it was always the first day, the middle day, the last day. All the babies were reading Brown Bear, the recordings. So
Right.
this way that was constant. And the intervention group also, they had a schedule of specific books that they read on specific days. So this way it gave the accuracy of the study to make sure everything was consistent.
Right. So the result of the study was that babies that were read to on a daily basis.
Yeah, actually, in one of the videos that I would love to share with you, I had the one baby, the first reading, he wanted nothing to do with the story. He actually got down, he ran away. I had another baby that took his shoe off and threw it at the book on the first day. But in the training videos that I shared with the parents, I said, just continue reading the book. Even if they get down, let them run away. Just continue reading with enthusiasm, because the baby's going to come back. They want to see what they're missing.
Right, what they're talking about,
Yeah.
what their mom is talking about.
And the babies for this study, I should specify, for this specific study, it was 12 months to 24 months.
Okay.
So luckily, one of the babies that participated, when the toddlers in the study, mom was pregnant when she was conducting the study. So when the newborn baby came, she asked if she could do the study with the baby, with the newborn. And even though I couldn't use it for the study, I still gathered research. And that baby at 22 days old had significant growth in attention span. And her eyes just tracked the whole time. So, and that's something that in the research shows, like in different countries, like China, they start reading as soon as they find out they're pregnant. They start reading to their baby.
Okay.
Yeah, and they
So-
hear like if they hear the same stories like Brown Bear, or something consistent, you can tell the baby will tune in even after birth, because they can hear something that they recognize.
Remembered.
Mm-hmm.
They remembered from when
Yeah.
they were into video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really
Really
cool
cool.
stuff.
So the overall study showed that the IQ goes up, or
That the attention span
okay.
during the read alouds increases, as well as the engagement behaviors. So, for example, for positive engagement scores, if you look at the second figure
Right.
that I'm going to share with you, the intervention group, it doesn't only go up steadily like the attention scores, but the engagement drastically increases. So that means the baby was not only just watching the book, they were more engaged with it. They wanted to turn the page, and the baby
Right.
I was talking about before, the one that threw the book and ran away, on the 28th day, I have the recording that I'm able to share with the parents' permission. The baby sat for the whole story and actually wanted to hear it again.
Oh wow.
And you could hear the mom's voice crack up a little bit, and she said it was the first time. And that was just 28 days, and that made that much of a difference.
Right. Now, are you planning on doing additional studies with this?
I would love to. And with Baby Step, what we do is we basically provide baby gift bags to newborns at Orange Regional Medical Center in an effort to promote literacy. So in the gift bag, they receive some information that we provide. So for example, this is one of the brochures that we created, and it just has things that are simple, like just talk about what's on the picture, you know, or just pointing to the words as they get older. So things that we might commonly take for granted, just how they can help their children.
Right.
And really the importance of play, because so much is learned through play. So they get a brochure that's very simple, that's also a keepsake on the back that they could fill out, and they get a baby board book that we provide, and it's hopefully, we call it the gift of reading. So we're hoping, because a lot of the times from what I find, it's not that the parents are neglectful, they just don't realize how important it is.
How important it is.
Yeah, so it's just awareness and trying to let everybody know, trying to get that word out and how crucial it is.
Now, in different areas, are you looking for volunteers to get involved to open up, like in Manhattan and Westchester?
Yeah, I would definitely like to expand. Right now, I finished my degree last year, so we're now moving into fundraising, which I'm learning a lot about. Currently, to date, I would say most of the funding for the program has really been out of my own pocket, because it's something that I passionately believe in.
Right.
So to date, most of the dollar store is where I get the baby books from. Like Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is one of my favorites, but this book alone, as an example, it's $8.
Oh my.
So I usually look for quality books that I could find. They have to be baby board books, and they have to be new because they're going into the hospital, so they have to, because of germs. So usually once I find a good dollar store, I'll buy all the books that they have if it's a quality baby
Is
board
the
book.
right one, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each bag right now, probably we estimate each bag comes to about $3 per bag.
Okay.
And we're probably delivering about 120 bags per month, and that's not even meeting half of the demand.
Right.
So if the funding was there, we definitely could provide. It's just, you know, getting the word out, and hopefully, you know, we did apply for our first grant, so we're hoping. Everybody that we speak to seems also very passionate, and they all see the significance. So I'm hoping that, you know, eventually we are able to provide a baby board book to every child. We also have books in Spanish as well, because of the Spanish population, and we would like to add more languages to that as well.
Right. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and get more involved in what you're doing to bring education and literacy to youngsters, what number can they call to get?
They can contact me at 845-524-4490, or they can email me at babystepinc@yahoo. And the website is www.babystepinc.org, and that's BABYSTEPINC.org. And that is, it actually is an acronym. It stands for Baby Steps Towards Endless Possibilities, because we believe we're giving them tools so that they can be successful and hopefully attain their dreams as they get older.
Right. Now, the grant that you applied for, where is it? Where did you apply to?
The United Way grant.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was our
Way
first time applying, so we're keeping our fingers crossed.
grant. Good.
Yeah, so, and luckily, the seniors at the Promenade, which is the senior community right on Fulton Street in Middletown, they help us to organize the baby gift bags. So once a month, it's the activities that they look forward to, and they sit around a big oval table, and they just do an assembly line. And they are really fast and really determined. But they organize the baby gift bags, and then I have volunteers that volunteer their time. They come from Pennsylvania, and they bring the baby bags over to Orange Regional Medical Center, to the mother baby unit, and then they distribute them. So it really is, it's a solid team, and we're just trying to get it to run a little bit more fluidly. So this way, at this point in time, I was usually just preparing everything in my own kitchen and just putting the bags together. And you know, between working, I work full time as a kindergarten ENL teacher, and I work part time at SUNY New Paltz as an adjunct instructor. So, you know, it's a lot of things. So it really takes a team of passionate people, and I've been very lucky in the people that I've met.
Well, if someone in another area wanted to get involved and open up in a different area, you would support them.
Absolutely.
With your materials and...
Yeah, the presentations that I do, I share, they're free of charge. I'm really just trying to share the information to benefit children. So I'm happy to come and provide, share my research, share how the program works, and I'm more than happy to assist somebody if they wanted to facilitate someone else.
Right.
Somewhere else.
And what do you see as your vision in the future? Like, what would you like to see Baby Step Inc. go into?
was just speaking about this. I actually, in the future, one of our goals, we would love to have a Baby Step Academy, which is basically not an institution, a setting where children can learn through play. And that's what, like, using books in my kindergarten classroom too. Books are a tool to use during play. So if I have a child that has to go to timeout or something and they sit and they grab a book, I always make sure, and this is something I want to stress to parents, never use reading or writing as a punishment.
Right.
So if they naturally will always, because I have books all over my classroom, so they'll always grab for a book, and I always say, no, books are for fun. And right now you just need to take a break, and as soon as you're done, you can look at it. And now that child really wants that book because, but that's something that I've seen time and time again where kids are put in timeout and they associate that negative behavior with book reading. And,
Okay. So don't do it, Mom.
Don't do that. But the same thing, if your child does get down and walk around, let them do that, but just continue reading with enthusiasm. Because if I just turn the page and say, ooh, look at that,
Yeah.
naturally they're going to come over and they want to see what you're excited about. And they will. As you keep on reading, they'll ultimately come on over. I've seen it time and time again. Because if you're passionate or excited about it, they're going to be as well.
Right.
I mean, you see little ones right now playing on cell phones because that's what they see adults doing.
Exactly.
So,
So if
this
they
is
see you reading, Mom, if they
Or
see
Dad.
you reading, Mom or Dad, or sister or uncle or aunt, then
yeah.
that's what they'll want to do.
And 95% of what you teach someone else goes into potential for long-term memory. So if you have older siblings, I highly recommend, even if the child isn't formally reading yet, they can picture read and just talk about what's happening on every page.
Right.
So if you have a kindergarten student or a first grade student at home, have them read to their youngest sibling because that will actually help the older child as well as the younger child.
Right. Now, are there any studies as far as the increase in IQ? Or
The increase in IQ, not specifically that I'm aware of. However, I know for this specific study, this was the first of its kind.
Right.
There have been other reading studies and other information, but nothing that really analyzed attention span and engagement. And those are both very big terms in the education system right now. I'm sure everybody heard about increasing the rigor. I mean, that's something that kindergarteners now know what rigor means because it's that much drilled. So, and I definitely think that children can attain, they can reach higher, they absolutely can, but it has to be at a balance.
Right.
They really need to, through play is how they learn. They apply their knowledge, they apply what they hear, they mimic us as adults. You get to really hear what you sound like when you're around 5-year-olds all day. But by them actually having that risk-free environment where they're comfortable is really where they will take risks, and that's what's needed to be a successful learner. If they're so worried about making a mistake,
Right.
they're not going to do that. So like even when they're writing, I might say, "Ooh, that was a good try. I like how you tried to sound out that word, but this says," and I'll show them how to sound it out. So, even for little kids, music, learning through, music, tunes, singing the ABCs, there are some great websites. Starfall is one that I use, I recommend for younger kids because it's all learning through music and just hearing that. Sometimes they'll just keep on singing and they're actually starting to imprint.
Right.
They might not be ready for it in the beginning, but as they start applying it and see the connections, it will fit.
Now, you taught in Ireland at one point?
I worked in classrooms with administrators in Dublin, also in Oxford and in London, and then in orphanages in Belize and with the ambassador of Belize. So most of them were schools, and I really was training early literacy assessment programs that we use in the United States. And I was also learning about what they use in their countries.
Right.
And we were comparing. And for my actual dissertation, I analyzed what were the commonalities between countries that had 100% literacy and where we were falling behind. And there really was a big contrast. One of the things that I share is maternity and paternity leave is a huge factor, where here we only get 6 weeks maternity and paternity leave, where other countries like Finland and Norway, and they actually get 46 weeks at 80% or 52 weeks at 100, the other way around, 48 weeks at 100% or 52 weeks at 80% salary. So those moms and dads are able to be with their children, not worry about how they're paying rent or how they're going to feed them, and they can do all these wonderful things that we're talking about, reading with them, learning through play, because their survival is already not a worry that they need to think about.
So basically what I'm understanding you saying is that if we had a longer paid maternity leave in the U.S., it would actually increase our literacy level?
Absolutely. If the parents are also using that time effectively to work with their babies,
Right.
which could be just, something as simple as sitting back and reading this book that you don't realize when children are just even watching TV, or if they're playing on the iPad, depending on what they're watching or what they're playing, those are all things that could just be mindless activities or
Right.
opportunities for learning. So if they just have an adult with them to talk about the process, that could be an effective tool for learning.
Right.
So I do believe that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So don't just put them in front of the TV, work with them.
Absolutely, because working in front of and there are some cases as a college educator that I've seen where young children did not develop the peripheral vision because they were sat in front of a TV set for the early part of their life. So once we were able to identify the reading problem, because at first they were only able to read words that were in the center of the page,
Right.
and we couldn't figure out why. And then once we realized it was peripheral vision, that that's a neglect situation where they just sat in front of the TV, and we really, we're trying to just share how important Sesame Street, for example. Of course,
Right.
I'm a child of the 70s, so I love Sesame Street, but they have such great opportunities for learning, and they also, you'll notice with young children, if they see on TV, they'll say, what color is it, boys and girls? And the kids always talk back to the TV because
Right.
they believe that they're actually being spoken to.
Yeah.
So that's an engaged opportunity for learning.
Right.
So, we just need more. There's so many excellent tools out there that we really could use to help young children.
Now, if somebody just wants to call you and talk about some of these things for their children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love talking about this, so anytime anyone's welcome to call me. They can email me, but any way that I can help them with their biological children, their classroom students. It's really early childhood literacy is where I'm most comfortable, but I would always be willing to help in any way.
Right.
I've also done research with bibliotherapy, which is using books to help children through stressful situations like divorce or separation or grieving, and all of that is free also on the website as well. So there's a bunch of resources on there if anybody would like to see them.
So tell us a little bit about, it's called
Bibliotherapy.
Therapy,
Yeah,
okay.
I did that. I presented that at Oxford in 2009, and it's basically for younger children. They don't have an outlet of expression. They haven't developed it yet. So with very young children, if they're in a grief situation, you'll see they'll have a meltdown, and then just like that, they're fine. And people think that then they're fine, but it's really just they can't handle the emotion, so it shuts off.
Right.
And then it will come back on. So having an opportunity like we're with a book, you could talk about it, and there's like catharsis. We gravitate towards books that will help us if we're going through something personally.
Right.
If we're going through a divorce, we might gravitate towards divorce because we're trying to look for tools that help the character that will help us.
Right.
And that's what children do. So they might look as an outlet. And reading a book gives them an opportunity to talk to a trusting adult, or also drawing pictures gives them an opportunity as an outlet. And we need to provide that so that they can come out with the questions. One of my dear friends, when a daughter, they were going through a divorce, and her daughter's first concern was that Santa wouldn't know where she was for Christmas.
Oh.
And that's something that, of course, parents going through divorce are not thinking about at all, but that was that mean 5-year-olds, that's where she was just so confused or upset, like she just didn't even know where she was going to be, so how would Santa?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So, things like that, and that came up during a reading of a book, because, that's how that child shared that concern.
Yeah. So it actually brings out the emotion that they're feeling and they're not able to tap into.
Exactly.
So if anybody's interested in bibliotherapy, they should
Yes.
give you a call also.
Yeah, there's one book that I love, and it's for parents going through divorce. It's called Was It the Chocolate Pudding? And it's also on the website. But basically, at the beginning of the story, there's a big brother and a little brother in a crib. And the big brother comes in with chocolate pudding, and they finger paint on the wall. And when the mom and dad come in, dad thinks it's funny, mom does not, and they start to fight. And apparently during that argument is where they decide to separate. So through the whole story, the little boy thinks it was his fault because of the chocolate pudding.
Right.
You know, so just reading that book helps the parents to express to the child that it's not their fault, that they
Right.
are loved, and that this is just something, you know, to help alleviate any of the guilt that a child naturally will feel in a situation like that. This is one of the videos. It's not my own. I did try to contact the owner. It's in Portuguese, but basically the mom is just speaking to the baby, and the baby is responding. There's actually 2 videos, and I have another one where a child, she gets on the phone, or he gets on the phone, and he's clearly really upset, telling his dad something on the phone, but it's gibberish. But the baby is clearly trying to communicate in a way that they have seen before. So they do mimic what they see.
So if you read to them,
there's so many things that occur through reading. You're activating prior knowledge. You're exposing them to vocabulary words. You're offering opportunities for discussion. And also, you know, so many areas for problem solving and comprehension building that they will need in the future. So a lot of times they will want you to read the same story over and over and over again, and to an adult that might get so boring, but reading it to them will help them memorize it. And if you have a child that is a memorized reader, that's okay. What I would suggest for parents to do is just point to each word as they're reading, because if they're reading The Cat in the Hat, for example, after pointing to cat 50 times, the child will start to make a connection. Oh, cat, C-A-T.
Right.
Especially when they start doing the letter and sound association. Jack Hartman is, he's amazing. He has a bunch of videos on YouTube that are free, but he does things that involve kinesthetics. So a lot of kids are super hyper, of course, but he has one that goes like alligator. So he's always like moving around.
Right.
And with brain gym and things that we learned about the brain, it's anytime you cross the midline, it aligns the hemispheres of the brain, allowing more oxygen so that learning can occur. So when those kids are, or even if I'm trying to learn, anytime you cross your midline, I'll tell my kindergartners, take your right elbow and try to touch your left knee. And we'll do that as we sing the ABCs. So anything like that will also help them to retain the information.
well, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff.
Cool. Okay.
And even for like sight words, for example, like I did something that I picked up from my mentor, Dr. Smazanow, and she called it palm swirling, and she would go L-I-K-E like. And it was really simple. You're just swirling your fingers, but because you're crossing that midline, they're remembering. And like when I show them the word like, I'll see them sometimes quietly palm swirl, and that triggers their memory. So, you know,
That's interesting,
yeah,
too.
it's very good stuff.
Very good. Well, we really appreciate having you here, Danielle.
Thank you for
And
having
if
me.
anyone wants to find out more about her and what she's doing, her website is
It's www.babystepinc.org, and that's BABYSTEPINC.org.
okay, and her phone number is
845-524-4490.
right. And you can call her if you want to get involved in setting up the same kind of program in another part of the country or in another country.
Absolutely. And I try to do fundraisers for grown-ups and for kids. So we try to do something monthly. We're planning one now that's a comedy club for adults. So sometimes adults might feel guilty going out, but this is for a good cause. So hopefully it helps
So
to...
come and check
Yeah.
out her website to
Yes.
see what she's got going on this month.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.